Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rock. And hello to all my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. And if you're joining us from the wonderful land of Oz, I'd like to put out my heartfelt condolences to you after getting out over the weekend, a sacred time where capital cannot touch us. And so if you're back into the daily grind, then my heart goes out to you. It's 4AS in the house. Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the Dwayne. And to all of our friends that are joining us from TikTok as well. I'm just going to check and do a sound check just to make sure that's working. Let's see. Sound check just to make sure that's working. Yeah, it is. Yes, and I'm getting feedback too. That's so good. It's actually working. All right, so the sound is working. And yes, hello, my fellow revolutionaries. We are today going through something that I've wanted to have a look at for the last, 10 hours or whatever it was since this news dropped. But if you haven't heard the news, you must be living under a rock, and good on you. But if this is the first time you're hearing it, just so you know, I've put very specific in the way that I titled this stream, but Trump has, Trump strikes Iran. That's what I have called it. But obviously the US has attacked Iran. They've got in on the game with the old Israelis, the is not rails of the world, and they've decided to strike Iran. Now, they've been speaking, if you're not across this, for forever. Indoctrination, yo, what's up? And I've been practicing, let me just say this, indoctrination. That took me ages to say. I actually had to practice it on the weekend because all I could say was indoctrination. So the propaganda and the psychological warfare is so strong that I can't even think of the word indoctrination anymore. See, I still can't even say it properly. It's really screwing with me. But anyway, welcome. And yeah, for anyone who's wondering about what's going on with US and Iran, well, Israel have been rather belligerent, as they always are, attacking their neighbors in the Middle East. So it's hard to say. It is hard to say. It is now. It never was before. But yeah, Israel's been, pissing off its neighbors. Let's say, use an analogy for you. It's like that one person in the street who has constant late night parties and disturbs the peace, and then those parties actually spill into other people's backyards and screw up things. Well, that's Israel, is not rail, but on steroids. And so so the story goes, without prior agitation, depending on how far you go back, they struck out at Iran almost 2 weeks ago, and took out some very high members of the revolutionary government, as they call themselves in Iran. And then the US decided to dogpile on that bad boy and struck out, a day ago now, depending on where you are around the world and how you calculate your time in this global environment. And yeah, the US took out three nuclear facilities. Iran has nuclear capabilities, and that is a loaded term, can I just say? When we say nuclear capabilities, that could be using nuclear technology to produce energy as opposed to producing bombs. But this is a tale literally as old as time, when one state calls another state dangerous and says that they have weapons or the power to attack us, so we better get in there preemptively and attack them. So basically what's happened is the Americans have been going on for a long time, for years and years and years, decades even, but like, let's just say recently, they've been going on a long time, like for months now, about like how Iran is just about around the corner from developing a nuclear warhead. Okay. And, they have absolutely no evidence of this, it would seem. Tulsi Gabbard, who was the personal pick by Donald Trump and confirmed by the Senate to, be his loyalist within the intelligence services. She denied there being any evidence from U.S. intelligence that they were developing a nuclear bomb. But here we are. A day ago, Trump decided to take out three of their nuclear facilities. Now, this is not the end of it, I would say, because they have other nuclear facilities, from what I understand. But like the big thing is that like the US have decided to get in on this fight. They've decided to put the pressure on Iran, and like they're using the justification which they have been looking for a long time. And they have used this playbook before. Anyone who's old enough to remember this would remember the discussion around Iraq. The invasion of Iraq was all about weapons of mass destruction. It would appear that the political overlords that control global geopolitical relations, so basically the Americans, because they really control a lot of geopolitics, let's be honest, when they decide to do something, it affects the entire world's population. They haven't forgotten the success of convincing like the Western world that if like a bunch of Arabs have some dangerous weapons, that's justification to attack them without really any evidence of that. And so here we go again. The Americans, lo and behold, have been like, they've developed an atomic bomb, like kind of thing. They developed a nuclear weapon, and like we need to take out their facilities before they use it. Even though the obvious irony of that situation is the only people in the history of the human race that have ever used a nuclear weapon on anyone else is the Americans, but they are world policing it up again, and they've decided to step in with Iran because, Trump's and his and the boys have got a hunch that Iran have got a nuclear warhead, even though there are people within their own camp that are denying its existence. And so that's basically where we're at. So like it's really not like anything more sophisticated or intricate than that. They decided to get involved. But like that is the story. America, fuck yeah. Thank you, Farias. That is exactly the sentiment that I'm going for here. You're screwing around. You screw around too much. Dr. Nathan, ready for Caesar 2, Electric Boogaloo. Et tu, Brutes. It all started in 1948. It started with the invention of Islam. Shots fired. Oh, this is someone. It's not hard to say. Says Shot, and Shot says it all started with the invention of Islam. So, like, are you saying that it was Islam that invented the nuclear bomb? Shot? Like, I would like to know more if that's what you're trying to say here. So, if they had developed it in, I think it was about 800 AD, and they've kept the lid on that for a while, they were playing the long game, the old Muslims, I believe. So let us please divulge if you think that they're the ones that have started this off by inventing the nuclear bomb with the invention of their religion. I'd like to know more, honestly. It seems very insightful what you're claiming there. The forbidden knowledge. Shot says non-stop attempts at conquest since Islam was retconned onto the Arab conquests circa 600. The sacred texts. Right. Okay. And that has led to America deciding, or Trump deciding quite personally as commander in chief, despite his obligations when it comes to war, he's decided personally to go after them. So it's fully justified. Islam is military technology on how to hold together a tribal cavalry force. The frequent prayers are a military muster, stand-tos, etc., etc. Says shot. Fair enough. And so because they are a military culture and it's ingrained in their traditions and practices, they started it and they deserve to be struck first. I'm not a Trump fan or into Zionism, but the regime in Iran doesn't make it easy, nor do the Sunni groups. Fair enough. Rightio. Well, look, it's a bow to stretch to say that without evidence of having any nuclear capabilities in an aggressive sense, that they should be bombed first. I say that's a bit of a stretch. It'd be like if Iran was like, well, America literally has thousands of nuclear warheads, let's bomb them. Would that be justification? And like you could argue that America's culture is rather militaristic since its inception, from, you know, cleansing the land of the indigenous populations to fighting internal civil wars and then turning, you know, external and dominating the region and then the world after that, through actual hot wars, cold wars, and then proxy wars. You could use the same argument, but like, you know, I understand what you're saying when, like, I guess, yes, the Iranians within their own region of the world are not innocent. Absolutely not. They stoke the flames, and they do so by extension, really. That's how they seem to do everything. USA guarantees freedom of the seas for every nation. Pax Americana has done pretty well in most cases and places. Yes, it guarantees the freedom of the seas to a large extent, but like that is the model that the Americans needed as well to maintain US hegemony and economic control. So it's not out of sheer altruism or charity, I would say. It's definitely not for that. It's actually for economic and militaristic control reasons that they would have done that. It just seems to be coincidental that it is also aligned with what you're talking about in terms of globalization, which now people like Trump and the red MAGAs seem to think is enemy number one, and they're actually retracting from policing the seas. And that's why we're going to see a breakup of the world order, I'd say. We're not that militaristic. We are just huge in capability. I like that. That's a playful use of language there, Shot. Very playful. We're not not that militaristic. We're just huge in capability. It's the other way around. We hurt our economy to provide this benefit to the world. It aligns with our philosophy. Well, like you did provide that benefit to the world because it was suitable for your own economic interests. And now you've deemed it not, then there will be a retraction of that type of policing of the world seas. It would appear anyway. But yeah, I like the language there. That was clever. I'll give it to you. We're not militaristic. We're just huge in capability. A good one. It's a good one. I like that. So yeah, look, let us deep dive a little bit, if we can, into what the hell is going on. I would like to hear it from the horse's mouth. Why have the Americans decided to do this? I saw Trump say, basically, yes, we've struck Iran. We took out some stuff, but like, I'll leave it to Pete Hegseth to really get on top of what that actually means. And let's have a look at what Pete Hegseth has to say. Shot says the US Navy helped make China what it is as our current economic competitor, but our dominant ideology was more in line with doing that. Well, like, look, if you've had the capability to make China, and that was in the economic interests of the economic elite in your country and maybe the global economic elite, and you've used your navy to do the dirty work for you and protect the seas, which has created the monster that you are now calling China, who is your economic competitor, then that was a very bad strategic blunder, I would say. Our security posture and our economic interests are often clashed, and were big political fights domestically. Interesting. That the two don't speak to each other, I would disagree broadly with that. I would say that your militaristic interests actually feed the military-industrial complex, and you have two competing interests of economic size. One that he's like globalist and free trade and loving and wants to like make sure there's a safe global environment for trade. And then the other is just like someone, like a group that is ridiculously belligerent because they want the taxpayer to keep funding more and more of military expenditure, which gets given out to contractors. So you have actually a tension between two sectors of the economic elite. One that wants there to be forever wars because they profit off it, and one that wants there to be forever trade. And both are at the expense of the American economy and the American people to a large degree, I would say. We helped grow many of our economic competitors, but we have higher ideals. I think that is a really good point, actually. What you're expressing to me, this is just my personal opinion, and I don't mean any offense, is very idealistic. The type of story and the narrative that your economic elites sell to you is, oh yeah, because we have high ideals, we believe in freedom and the free market and all that sort of stuff, we must spread the free market out. And like, if we produce the people that are going to compete with us economically, then like, oh, so be it. But like, we do it because we love freedom and we do love the American way of life and we do love the free market, like kind of thing. That's bullshit. That is just the story they tell the plebs so they can justify going around the world and profiting off it, basically, whether you're from a globalist perspective or a military industrialist. It doesn't really make a difference. Shot says again, there are more factions than forever wars and forever trade. Ideology has a big feature in American politics since the beginning. Yes it does. I think we agree on that one, actually. But like, ideology at the end of the day is a conglomeration of ideals, and the ideals about spreading economic interests and free market ideology at the expense of your own interests is absolute bullshit. It might be at the expense of the interests of the working people and the American general population, but it's never been at the expense of the ruling classes over there, the political and economic establishment. They've always seemed to be able to profit from it either way. All of those are in the pot, but they aren't the only reasons why things happen. Yeah, they're in the pot. All the ideals, all the ideology, that's all in the pot. But it's all backed up. Behind it, it's all someone profiting off it. That's the real lesson, I would say to you. Oh, you got done. Oh, wow, there's a few people that got... Wait, is this from the other day? Yeah, okay. So 4IS in the CC, the censored comments. Hawks and doves fundamentally want the same thing, which is the continuation of globalization and American imperialism. And those things are in a dialectical relationship for AS 100%. 100%, I would say. Outspeaker, think tanks. Well, welcome, Outspeaker. Welcome to the chat. And so, yeah, let's just have a look-sees now and what it is the Americans are using to justify endeavoring in another forever war, as the terminology is, the vocabulary is that they're using for this type of stuff nowadays. I'm just going to check the stream chat because I often... Yo, Avalove is in the stream chat. Can we get a countdown to the fall of the US empire? Shot. American polices the seas to continue the smooth operation of the interests of capital. Yes. Yes. The security interests of the US or any nation are entirely for the benefit of capital. There it is. Shot. Avalava is responding to you, Shot, by the way. Shot says, Shot, those higher ideals also bring the liberation of brown people, such as the Iraq War. They liberated the shit out of those people, freed them out of the conditions of life, as Is Not Rail does now to the people of Gaza. Yeah, that's pretty heavy, but it's pretty goddamn true, isn't it, at the end of the day? Unfortunate reality, but that's the reality that we live with right now. So yeah, let's have a look at what Hegseth has to say, because, like, this will be interesting. Like, where we've already seen a little bit of, mental gymnastics today and playing with words. So let's see what Hegseth has to say. Capital, Shot says capital, in inverted commas, is too vague. We've got many capital classes here. Landowner, business owners, trade heavy, domestic heavy. It's not a monolith. It's not a monolith, but it is the invisible thread that ties all the social relations together. It's a large concept. It's hard to grasp. But if you don't understand that all of these groups that you have described here are tied together by something that is capital, then it's going to be hard for you to follow this conversation. Shot says, prime example, see the situation with Henry George. So yeah, you have to understand that capital is vague as well, because it is, you got to look at things on a macro level, and modern economics is not about the macro level. It's not about the totality at all. And capital is a force. Capital is the force in the modern world and economics that makes everything move. We've had major financial empires fight each other, often from different industrial bases. I'm not having a hard time following you. Well, you seem to think that capital is too vague, but that is a fundamental point that I believe we have to have some type of understanding of in order to have a constructive conversation, to be honest. And like when you describe major financial empires fighting each other, yes, there's no cohesion in the bourgeoisie. They fight over who gets to dominate a capitalistic society. And like they don't always agree on anything, but they will agree and share interests when it comes to fighting against like working people and how to control them. It's too vague, because thinking of very detailed events and people, I can get very specific, and you can. I'm sure you can. It's too vague because I'm thinking of well, you can get down into the minutiae of it. You can get down to really, really fine-grained levels of detail if you want to. But like, you're never going to get a good perspective on what's really going on. I'm operating at a much deeper and more detailed-oriented level than you are. Fair enough. That is your opinion, it would seem. But like getting into very fine-level specific stuff, and like talking about ideals doesn't appear to me to be any more deeper. Definitely detailed, but definitely not deeper. If you describe the idea of capital as being vague, unfortunately. Outspeaker, basically capital is money that makes money. Money in motion. 100%. 100%. You have to get deep and more specific once you get beyond theory. But like, this isn't theory. We're talking about something that is materially happening. And so what you need is an understanding of how it all fits together. And if you want to continue to get more and more specific, you will get lost in the sea of everything, and you will not be able to see the forest for the trees. So like, I understand what you're saying, but like, get as specific as you want to and really explain that situation in intricate detail, but it won't help you understand the mechanisms of what's really going on. Got to name names, events. Yeah, I know. That is a very capitalistic way of thinking. It's all business. It's got to be characterized. It's got to be able to set into a specific formula. If you can't give me names and all, et cetera, then like, I've got nothing to hang my hat on. And so why should I believe you? It's an empirical way of thinking. I get it. But it also shows where the mindset is in a society like ours. It's all facts and specifics. But like, that's not how the economy really works. In this case, I don't think so, because capital is too broad, because it lumps in often antagonistic forces together. We call them contradictions. Same situation happened right after Henry George. They purposely lumped in quite diverse groups to obfuscate. Right. All right. I'm going to get onto this now. Unless there's anything else in the stream chat that I've missed. Avalava. Here we go. MysterE, I posted my opinion on Australia's position in the general chat. There we go. Oh, is this from Penny Wong? Yeah, Penny Wong says Australia supports the US and strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities. Avalava says she was parroting the lies about Iran wanting to develop nukes. What a joke. There's no evidence whatsoever. They're ignoring the fact that the Iranian leaders forbid the creation of nuclear weapons since 2013 with a fatwa. The threat is the humiliation of the US empire, demonstrating that they are declining and that the is not really genocidal death cult is insane. Penny, I know you don't want the US to point more barrels at Australia, as they clearly already have multiple up our arse since World War II, but grow a spine. Don't show cowardice to the aggressive barbarians. They have proven undoubtedly that they do not value the lives of those whose skin isn't white, but that they also have no capacity to be trusted. They lie and deceive. They bombed Iran's peace delegation and claimed they walked away from it. I can't imagine anyone would believe anything they say without being a lunatic, fanatic, delirious, or all of the above. Sorry about this rant, but I seriously can't believe Australia is once again going to be on the side of the aggressor in a war that will kill millions and stagnate to a quagmire if collective West doesn't learn to show an ounce of humility. And there you've got it. This is from Avalava, the opinion on Australia's response. And like, I understand what you're saying, but like, did you really expect anything else? Did you expect Penny to be like, oh no, America's wrong on this one? I'm not surprised. I'm obviously disappointed that like we're going to just walk into, Iraq 2.0. Actually, it's Iraq 3.0, isn't it? Where it's just like, they've got some bombs and stuff. Don't look. Let's just bring them some more freedom. Like, it's unfortunate that, like, we've rehearsed this one. We've had a full-blown rehearsal for it. And, like, here we are again. Here we are again. Censored comments. I'm going in. This is a controversial topic, isn't it? Hey? Shots in here. Stirring the pot. It's good. Keeping the conversation lively. I love it. Indoctrination has been censored. And for what? Bro, it's the same people. Google, the big 11 companies that own everything. Have fun with that rabbit hole, says Indoctrination. That's the truth they don't want you to know. There it is. So, where were we? Outspeaker. If capitalism is the system where capital or money in motion is sovereign instead of monarch, then it's arbitrary and illusory. Ooh, that's an interesting concept. If capitalism is the system where capital or money in motion is sovereign instead of the monarch, then it's arbitrary and illusory. That's very interesting. And like, it definitely has sovereignty. They do say that money makes the world go round. There's another motion reference or metaphor, actually, right there. 4AS, politicians are followers, not leaders. Shot. Capital used to mean capital goods, but now it includes everything, including cap goods, money, financial assets, land. They packed it all together to obfuscate. No, they didn't pack it all together. That is literally like classical economy, okay? Like going right back to where political economy started. That's how they actually described it. And then it moved away from that, which is what you're describing, Shot. And then like people are trying to discuss it in other terms again. So I'm not sure where you're coming from when, like, who's, you know, they've packed it all together. This is literally how people at the dawn of like capitalism tried to describe things, as conglomerating all of these things under the idea of capitalism, or capital. They packed it together. Manson, Gaffney detailed it. Well, Manson, Gaffney is wrong because he doesn't know history. The Georgists tried to unpack the situation between commercial real estate landlords, business leasing, commercial property, for example, which is quite productive. Names, dates. He went through the evolution of language, and he's wrong, okay? Because he's obviously not gone back far enough, because it's not hard to find out. Like, even Adam Smith talks about this stuff. And Adam Smith is, you know, set up as like, you know, the poster boy of free markets and capitalism. Squeeb says, joined late, but here. Good banter in the chat. It's fucking going off. And it's quite controversial. I didn't realize that Iran was going to be such a controversial topic. I thought it would just be like, oh, America's at it again. Let's have a chat. Let's see what the Americans are up to. We'll call it a day. But like, you know, we're going right down the pipeline of apparently American exceptionalism, and like what that means for capitalism at large. Services are not considered capital, but are included in GDP. And GDP, hey, what a interesting economic measure that is. Like even the person who invented GDP pointed out some massive flaws with its own calculation and put massive caveats on its use. But it became popularized very quickly because politicians were able to weaponize it, apparently. They were able to be like, oh yeah, if it's going up or increasing under my tenure and increasing healthily, then like they started using and calling on GDP as a good measure of their political accomplishments, I guess you would say. So GDP was never meant to be used the way people use it now. I think something we can agree on, Shot. There we go. Yes, like I said. But like it's a referential mark, and like it's an important part of the conversation now. And so we can't ignore GDP because everybody bloody uses it. i.e. GDP includes things by definition are not productive, but experience. On a small scale, says Outspeaker, the homeless man flying a sign breaks the spectacle. On a large scale, rebellion and counter-colonialism does. You know, I think counter-colonialism is where it is at. Fight them on the fringes, and then rebellion in the core. I think that's a good point. Squeeb, bring us as war is capital intensive. Bring it as war is capital intensive and increases GDP, but doesn't produce things people want. War is incredibly productive from a capitalistic perspective because not only does it produce a lot and gets a lot of money, investment and flowing, but it's also destructive. And you can have creative destruction. And so like it destroys a lot of capital. The last thing capitalists want is like stock sitting around. because then that devalues what they have on the market already or what they've produced already. And so if stuff is sitting around, it can't move. And so like if you have wars, it just destroys a lot of shit. Like look at what happened to Europe after World War II. Boom. Like biggest economic boom the culture has ever seen. Look at what happened in Korea after the Korean War. Like endless, economic upward trajectory until they just like kind of flattened out and they had rebuilt and restructured society. So yeah, war is incredibly good for capital. Incredibly good for capital. For yes, that's why pollies get so confused when things aren't qualitatively better for people despite, but the number went up. Outspeaker, Iran and Hamas are countering US imperialism and neo-colonialism, therefore they are breaking the spectacle. They are breaking the spectacle. And they get called the T word for it. And like you have T people at home and abroad, can I just say. Anyone who kind of breaks the spectacle, I guess you could say, by countering the imperialism that supports capitalism is definitely worth calling a terrorist. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Sorry, typo. War consumes a lot. It's destructive. War itself drives up demand. Yes, I think we can agree on that one. And depending on the war, can redistribute the supply side. Yes. Yes, that's what Keynesianism did so well. It led to military Keynesianism. It's all the rage at the moment, isn't it, for IS? The idea of military Keynesianism. So like when government spends more money on the military to help, save a fledgling economy, like especially like in Europe and stuff like that, then now it's military Keynesianism. I get it, but like I'm suspect of describing things as military Keynesianism. I wonder what Keynes would have thought of people using the term military Keynesianism. I don't think that would have been his cup of tea, if you know what I mean. For IS. Shot says they would rather not produce anything and still get paid, but only so many people can benefit from profits without production. That's a good point, actually. There's no reality behind it. The spending part is good, but they won't spend to build public housing, etc. Same basic effect, except for the destruction on the other end. Keynes would have hated it. He had a very different vision of the future. He did. He definitely did. Script says, Iran produces about 2% of oil, but war around them can shuck and change that supply side to other countries. Yeah, I think a lot of this, and I think, who was it? Chip had said in the Discord, they put out some interesting like points about like why this is happening. And like the global petrodollar system is kind of at risk with like Iran not basically playing ball with like kind of America's hegemonic interests in geopolitics. So if they're a disruptor to all of that sort of stuff, then they're dangerous and they deserve the term terrorists. And as Outspeaker was describing, if they destabilize the neo-colonial and imperialist intentions of the global trade order, then they've got to be dealt with. And they be dealt with on flimsy pretenses. Like, don't look now, but I think they've got a nuclear warhead. Petrodollar is a myth. Those people didn't understand charlatanism, or they did, but wanted to hide it. It's an interesting claim. It's a big claim that the petrodollar is a myth. Like, it's a very basic kind of understanding is that really when people trade and buy oil, they do so in American dollars. It would be very easy to demonstrate. I don't know if you mean the concept is a myth, but it'd be easy to demonstrate whether or not countries use American dollars to actually buy oil. Scream says, fill up the card this week. Oh, shit, that's a good call. So tiny percentage in globe, but can still shift the short-term supply. Fill up your petrol this week. There's your working class revolutionary take of the stream so far. Thank you, Sebastian. And I think everyone should be learning from that takeaway is if you need a car to survive, and if you have to buy petrol in order to do that, go and get some now. Because things could get a bit tight, depending on where you sit in the distribution and supply chains around the world. So, like, do yourself a favor, go fill up your car, get some jerry cans. They're not too expensive, and just maybe hold tight for a little bit. Script says America produces a lot of light oil and Gulf states produce heavy oil, but America can only refine heavy, not light. So think this will cost America more as it's a bigger hit to their consumption, but won't affect their production. That's an interesting point, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, it's always the American people that suffer when it comes to this type of stuff. They use American dollars for many things besides oil. Eurodollar was already a thing before the petrodollar or origin story epoch. Yes, they use American dollars for a lot of stuff, but I'm pretty sure the agreement was for Saudi Arabia, for them, if they're going to be producing oil, to make sure that people are using American dollars to buy it off them. So I think you're right. There's probably a lot of misunderstanding and misconception around what it actually means. But very basically, I thought that was just the deal. That was the original deal kind of thing. Indoctrination might drive America and Venezuela to start trade talks again. That's a pretty good one. That's a good one. What type of fantasy world do you live in? But that would be funny if it did, right? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Like those evil socialists in Venezuela, those bastards. Hey, it would be funny to see America be like, hey, remember how we called you guys an abomination? You wanna do some deals? I could get a deal done. I could do it in 24 hours. I could do it. It's not gonna be nice, but it's gonna get done because it's what we do here. We do deals. Oh man, Avalava, I'm sorry. This is ages ago. The material details of the situation are defined by the social dynamic of capital interests. We can talk details, but they point to the same goal. Yeah, all roads lead to Rome. I believe in that too. There's a lot of craziness in the detail, but why is it all happening at the end? Avalava, GDP doesn't include care work, such as the role of mothers, caring for children, the future workforce, and the creation of surplus labor. That's an interesting one. I heard as well, GDP kind of takes into consideration investment. So if people are investing in industry or something like that in your nation, and it takes 2 years to, I don't know, buy the land and build the warehouses or the factories or something like that. GDP takes into consideration the capital invested up front, but then once the industry is actually built, and it doesn't then take into consideration it at any later stage. It only takes into consideration what's happening at the time, which is interesting. Interesting to think about. It's just the initial investment capture that is taken into account or something. So it's got a lot of flaws. But it's good for politics because you can put your finger on something. For AS, yeah, it doesn't take into consideration social production, also undervalues feminized work. For AS, you are our in-house feminist scholar, I would say, just lightly. All right, I'm going to try and fix this so I can monitor two at the same time. Give me a second, because I feel like I am undervaluing, like GDP, the stream chat here. So I do apologize. You always do this. I'm going to try and see if I can get them both on one. Fuck you, just work, you bastard. Do what you're told. There we go. That worked. I should be able to monitor both at the same time. All right. Man, the chat's going off today. I just wanted to watch Hegseth talk. And here we are. It's like deep in the debate territory. Shot says we can refine a little crude, just not as much of it. Script says might be quicker to just put new government in place in Iran, then change Venezuela. That's American foreign policy right there. It's just like, let's just put in a new government in Iran, then just as a backup, we'll do one in Venezuela. GDP works best when you use it to contrast GDP and non-GDP activities to see how new credit money is being used. You can work formula backwards from velocity and get a rough idea of how much plus GDP activity new credit is going towards. Squeeb89 says it's a big picture type number, so can tell you a tiny bit, but more nuanced decision requires separate data sets. Is this MAGA or Pax Americana, asks Indoctrinathan, who says, same as unemployment rate doesn't tell you about underemployment. Yes. Or the what are they called? The precariat. Doesn't tell you about that either. Those poor bastards. All right. Let's do this. GDP also doesn't tell you the velocity of a dollar, how many dollars are in circulation to enable the GDP. All right, shall we? I do actually want to watch this. I know that everyone's having a good time in the chat, which is good. We like to stimulate a conversation. So a big thank you to Shot for coming in here and stirring the pot. It's been interesting. We like to see that. Shot says that's the benefit of it. It tells you when credit money isn't going to GDP activities. Sweep says, no! MysterE is getting super sidetracked. It's hilarious. No, it's a good conversation. But I really want to see what Hegseth has to say. All right. I'm going to concentrate on Hegseth for a little bit. I'll let you guys duke it out in the chat there. Yeah, it looks like there's two economists going head-to-head here. We've got Squeeb89 and Shot. Or is it S? Or is it Sh0T? I hope I'm pronouncing it properly.
Conducted a precision...
All right, let's do this. I want to hear what Hegseth has to say. I might speed it up because it's half an hour. And might be hard to stomach Hegseth for that long, let's be honest. He's an all-American hero, Hegseth is. Playback speed, here we go. Let's go 1.25 then, just for laughs. Morning.
Last night on President Trump's orders, U.S. Central Command...
there's a CC. Stop. Hold it, Hegseth. Indoctrinathan says, I actually think there's a non-0% of it happening at the moment. We're also seeing a fight between neocons and paleocons in the background. That word is so interesting to me, paleocons. Like, seriously. If the pecons win, you'll likely see them shift oil focus to Venezuela. Interesting. So the original cons versus the neocons. Yeah, very interesting. Well, I guess time will tell. Because no one could predict that America was actually going to strike Iran a day or a day and a half ago, and here we are. Everyone was speculating on it hard, but here we are. All right. This is for you, Pete Hegseth.
Conducted a precision strike in the middle of the night against 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, in order to destroy or severely degrade Iran's nuclear program. And as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs will demonstrate, it was an incredible and overwhelming success. The order we received from our commander-in-chief was focused, it was powerful, and it was clear. We devastated the Iranian nuclear program. But it's worth noting the operation did not target Iranian troops or the Iranian people. For the entirety of his time in office, President Trump has consistently stated for over 10 years that Iran must not get a nuclear weapon. Full stop. Thanks to President Trump's bold and visionary leadership and his commitment to peace through strength, Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated. Many presidents have dreamed of delivering the final blow to Iran's nuclear program, and none could until President Trump. The operation President Trump planned was bold.
Can you see the brown on his tongue? Has anyone noticed that yet? Hey, it's a bit of a Trump special, that one is. Hey. Thank you, President Trump.
And it was brilliant, showing the world that American deterrence is back. When this president speaks, the world should listen. And the U.S. military, we can back it up. The most powerful military the world has ever known. No other country on planet Earth could have conducted the operation that the chairman is going to outline this morning. Not even close. Just like Soleimani found out in the first term, Iran found out when POTUS says 60 days that he seeks peace and negotiation, he means 60 days of peace and negotiation. Otherwise, that nuclear program, that nuclear capability will not exist. He meant it. This is not the previous administration. The President Trump said no nukes.
W says they really truly love to gloat, don't they? Bloody oath they love to gloat. Like, this is just, it's just all show. Like, come on. Like, no other military would be capable of doing this. It's just a dick measuring contest. That's what it is. Like, seriously, we are so big. Look at how big we are. What did you use before? Shot? What did you say? We are just so capable. Look at our capabilities. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. And the art of the deal. Plug, plug, plug. Plug, 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 says 4AS. It's a bit sickening. Dr. Nathan got censored again. Stop getting censored, bro. Eh? It's a difference in where they should focus attention. Peocons think that they should focus on the Americas, for the fear of the empire is overstretched. The neocons believe in total hegemony over the world. Well. There you go. The art of the deal. I will plug. Give me a second for us. W, they love that line. We aren't the previous administration. Yeah, it's definitely a mainstay nowadays, isn't it? The previous administration, what they did, what they didn't do, what they could have done that they didn't, and what we're going to have to do now, all that sort of stuff. All right, so if anyone wants to join in on the propaganda train, please, here's an invite to the Discord. Go over there, introduce yourself, drop your propaganda, and then read the propaganda that is there. Get involved in the discussion, and just be civil, for God's sake. We all have a good time chatting over there, and I don't want to ruin the vibes. So, yeah, be nice and go over and spark the conversation, please.
He seeks peace, and Iran should take that path. He sent out a truth.
Here's one for you, W. He seeks peace. He seeks it. That's why he's using bombs to get it. Eh? Peace through strength all the way. Don't do this again, you dog. My screen's glitching. Don't do that. Will be greeted as liberators. Yeah, could you imagine, like, walking into Iran now? They're going to love you. Welcome, Dilemmas85, eh? With your cutting insight as always. They will be greeted as liberators. That's how the whole world, if you're wondering, any Americans watching this, how the rest of the world views you, it's definitely as liberators. So don't worry about it. Everybody loves the liberation effect. Peace and bombs in the same sentence. I know. Thank you. That's what I was like, wait a minute. Like, he just talked about him, like, you know, striking. And now he's saying, like, he just wants peace. He wants it. Why won't anybody give it to him?
And Iran should take that path. He sent out a truth last night saying this: any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Signed, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Iran would be smart to heed those words. He said it before, and he means it. I want to give recognition to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Joint Staff, General Eric Kurilla at CENTCOM, who did a phenomenal job, he and his staff, all of CENTCOM. Policy across the board, this was a joint effort, and across the Pentagon effort. I want to recognize the pilots.
You know, when it comes to the gloating as well, it's really funny how, like, it seems like they give away a lot too. Like, other people that are, like, I guess, less hubristic, if that's a word, like, a little bit more guarded with the way they talk about, like, their military operations. He's just like, yeah, the Pentagon was involved all levels. Here's the committee. Here's the times and the dates that they met. Here's all the people that were involved. Here's the discussion that they had. Would you like to know more? Like, they're very, like, talking about gloating. Like, they really seem to give away a little bit too much in terms of, like, how things operate. But, like, yeah, that's part and parcel with the hubris of it all, I guess. And you know what happens with hubris, eh? Usually in the Greek mythology is the thing that leads to downfall. So be careful. Shot says war is peace. They really believe in their religious fanaticism. War is peace. That's some doublethink, eh? Anyone's across some Orwellian vocabulary, this is it. One hand talking about striking someone, using military force against them, and saying in the next sentence or in the same breath that, hey, but I've always loved peace. It's one of my favorite things to do. Love a bit of peace. Dilemmas 85. This is like Bush on an aircraft carrier with a mission accomplished banner behind him. It is a lot like that. I wonder if their openness will be their downfall eventually. It strikes me as careless. It strikes me as careless. But, like, you know, if you think you're big and capable, I guess you slip up like that. In Dr. Nathan, it's honestly very is not really of them. Or maybe it's very American of the is not Rayleighs to act like that. Well, you know, if you've got, like, the biggest kid in the playground in your corner, you would do some very, you would act that way, I would say. The is not Rayleighs. Squeeb, it's interesting that America is currently in an America First doctrine of negotiation, except when dealing with requests from states that border Iran. All right.
Who flew those bombers? Who flew those? I want to recognize the pilots. Who flew those bombers? Who flew those fighters? Who flew those refuelers? Warriors. I want to recognize the sailors on those destroyers, in those subs, on those carriers. Warriors. All of them. I want to recognize our soldiers doing air defense, base defense, QRF, warriors. All of them. Every American involved in this operation performed flawlessly.
Warriors. Come on, Shot. You got to admit, like, you were talking about, like, Islam being a warrior culture. Like, come on. You got to say it. The Americans love a bit of a warrior, eh? The American warriors that were involved. You can't get away from that rhetoric. It's hardcore. Oh, stream chat, no. I missed something in the stream chat. This is back on the conversation about GDP undermining feminized work as well. Greatly undervalues it, says Avalava, and actively works against it, despite the value it brings to the quality of human lives. And I mean value in the material sense, not the capitalistic exchange value sense. The emotion, care, domestic work, social cohesion, and sexual care are taken for granted. This produces so many scars on the lives of people, scars of capital, which shape bastard. I just got kicked off TikTok. I'm going to fix that. Why did I get kicked off? Fuck it, we'll do it live. Yeah, how do you like them apples? I'm back. This produces so many scars on the lives of people, scars of capital, which shape the life and perspective of people for the entire conscious time of being alive. Talk about an epistemic injustice. Hegseth, Trump sent out a truth. Is that a tweet from his Truth Social platform? It's a truth, not a statement or a claim. It's an inherent fact. The arrogance. I know. That was really cool when he picked up the piece of paper and said, Trump set out a truth. The language is impeccable. It's so good. Like, if you really want to control a conversation, you have to use loaded language. And there's nothing better than that. Like, Truth Social, you send out a truth. You don't send out a tweet or some bullshit like that. You send out a truth. This is a truth. Whether you believe it or not, this is a truth. And you get to decide whether you use it or not. 4S commented that this is why Paris Paloma's Labour song is very interesting from a Marxist perspective about feminized work he's referring to. A bit of a first world warrior, eh, MysterE? Eh? See what you did there. They're probably embarrassed. Indoctrinated. Can I get a big hurrah for our American warriors chat? Hurrah, American warriors. Squeeb. Trump's birthday parade was a great example of idealizing military. Hegseth is not well liked by the military. Hegseth is a religious nut. But he loves a good warrior. He loves a good warrior. Come on, man. Just say it. You can say it. It's all right. They love the warrior culture. And Squeeb's onto something. The Trump parade, the Trump birthday parade, I should say. It's a good example of that. Not that other countries don't do it, but why not celebrate the military? It's good for recruiting, apparently.
And I want to give recognition to our allies in Israel as well.
Yeah, thanks,
Israel. This is a plan
Israel.
that took months and weeks of positioning and preparation so that we could be ready when the President of the United States called. It took a great deal of precision. It involved misdirection and the highest of operational security. Our B-2s went in and out of downtown Tehran, of these nuclear sites, in and out and back without the world knowing at all.
See, they're just telling them all their tactics. It's mental.
A strike that included the longest B-2 Spirit bomber mission since 2001 and the first operational employment of the MOP, a massive ordnance penetrator. The mission demonstrated to the world the level of joint and allied integration that speak to the strength of our alliance and our joint forces. As President Trump has stated, the United States does not seek war, but let me be clear. We will act swiftly and decisively when our people, our partners, or our interests are threatened. Iran should listen to the President of the United States and know that he means it, every word. I want to give congratulations to our Commander-in-Chief. It was an honor to watch him lead last night and throughout, and to our great American warriors on this successful operation. God bless our troops. God bless America. And we give glory to God for his providence and continue to ask for his protection. I turn it over now to the chairman for specifics.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thanks for recognizing all of our folks out there doing our nation's work, and nice to see everybody on this early Sunday morning. Last night, on the President's orders, U.S. Central Command, under the command of General Eric Kurilla, executed Operation Midnight Hammer, a deliberate and precise strike against 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. This was a complex and high-risk mission carried out with exceptional skill and discipline by our joint force. I want to thank every service member, planner, operator that made this mission possible. Their actions reflect the highest standards of the United States Armed Forces. This operation was designed to severely degrade Iran's nuclear weapons infrastructure. It was planned and executed across multiple domains and theaters with coordination that reflects our ability to project power globally with speed and precision at the time and place of our nation's choosing. This was a highly classified mission with very few people in Washington knowing the timing or nature of this plan. I'll refer you to the graphic on the side as I walk you through some of the operational details. At midnight Friday into Saturday morning, a large B-2 strike package comprised of bombers launched.
Avalava, is it me or does Hegseth's talk of the military equipment sound very phallic? Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a closet gay. Yeah, and like, you know, he looks after himself a little bit too well, Hegseth, if you know what I mean, eh? And like, he does like the old military a little bit, and I'm sure he spends some time on board, eh? Likes to get around the sailors a little bit, old Hegseth. But yeah, that was a bit phallic, huh? Look at this. This is old school, right? Don't they have like a PowerPoint presentation or something like that? Look at that. They left America. Here we go. All the way to the target. And everyone, like, here's the Navy hanging out, chilling in support. Crazy, man. Hegseth loves YMCA as well. Wink, wink. And Dr. Nathan, honestly, thinking about it more, Truth Social is such a good example of postmodernist politics. It's your truth. Doesn't matter what the agreed truth is anymore. Oh, Jerriga's in the house. No way. Didn't they move the B2s after all the assassins? What is he talking about? Who the fuck knows? Who knows? Hegseth will probably take it home and frame it. That's why.
From the continental United States. As part of a
How good's the little target symbol there? It's so good. Can you see that?
plan to maintain tactical surprise.
Oh man, I can't zoom in on that, really. There's a little explosion symbol down there where it's just like target hit. So good. That's what that means.
Part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa. The main strike package, comprised of 7 B-2 Spirit bombers, each with 2 crew members, proceeded quietly to the east with minimal communications. Throughout the 18-hour flight into the target area, the aircraft completed multiple in-flight refuelings. Once over land, the B-2s linked up with escort and support aircraft in a complex, tightly timed maneuver requiring exact synchronization across multiple platforms in a narrow piece of airspace, all done with minimal communications. This type of integration is exactly what our joint force does better than anyone else in the world. At approximately 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time last night, and just prior to the strike package entering Iran, a U.S. submarine in the Central Command Area of Responsibility launched more than 24 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles against key surface infrastructure targets at Esfahan. As the Operation Midnight Hammer strike package entered Iranian airspace, the U.S. employed several deception tactics, including decoys, as the 4th and 5th generation aircraft pushed out in front of the strike package at high altitude and high speed, sweeping in front of the package for enemy fighters and surface-to-air missile threats. The strike package was supported by U.S. Strategic Command, U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Cyber Command, U.S. Space Command, U.S. Space Force, and U.S. European Command. As the strike package approached Fordo and Natanz, the U.S. protection package employed high-speed suppression weapons to ensure safe passage of the strike package, with fighter assets employing preemptive suppressing fires against any potential Iranian surface-to-air threats. We are currently unaware of any shots fired at the U.S. strike package on the way in. At approximately 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2:10 a.m. Iran time, the lead B-2 dropped 2 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapons on the first of several aim points at Fordo. As the president stated last night, the remaining bombers then hit their targets as well, with a total of 14 MOPs dropped against 2 nuclear target areas. All 3 Iranian nuclear infrastructure targets were struck between 6:40 p.m. and 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's about 2:10 in the morning local time in Iran, with the Tomahawk missiles being the last to strike at Esfahan to ensure we retain the element of surprise throughout the operation. Following weapons release, the Midnight Hammer strike package exited Iranian airspace and the package began its return home. We are unaware of any shots fired at the package on the way out. Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise. In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the president stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon. I know that battle damage is of great interest. Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all three sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction. More than 125 U.S. aircraft participated in this mission, including B-2 stealth bombers, multiple flights of fourth and fifth generation fighters, dozens and dozens of air refueling tankers, a guided missile submarine, and a full array of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft, as well as hundreds of maintenance and operational professionals. As the Secretary said, this was the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history and the second longest B-2 mission ever flown, exceeded only by those in the days following 9/11. Well prior to the strike, General Kurilla elevated force protection measures across the region, especially in Iraq, Syria, and the Gulf. Our forces remain on high alert and are fully postured to respond to any Iranian retaliation or proxy attacks, which would be an incredibly poor choice. We will defend ourselves.
Defend themselves from where? What are they going to do? Fly 18 hours across the world to hit you back? Like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, what is it exactly that they think they're going to do? Unless they're including Israel in that. Like, are they saying any more attacks on is not rail constitutes an attack on America? Or are they literally positioning themselves to allow Iran to strike at something in the vicinity, so they got reason to ramp things up a little bit? Like, come on, man. Far out. A lot of aggressive defense going on these days. I know, right? It's the best offense is aggressive defense by flying halfway across the world to drop bombs on somebody else in the middle of the night and them actually having no idea what the fuck is going on and being proud of the fact that they just didn't see it coming. It appears that the whole thing was surrounded by the element of surprise. Like, seriously, far out. The element of surprise, which is why Iran was able to get everything and everyone out before they struck. Yeah, well, they've only been talking about it for a little bit, haven't they? As though it was the plan all along, says Avalava. But sorry, these operational details sound like it was planned long before Israel attacked Iran. Well, as Hegseth continually says, he's ready for anything. That's his job. Joint Chiefs of Staff and all the boys, they get around, they plan any option, so he was ready to go. Hirohito, there's a little tweet or something put in here, Avalava. We have completed our very successful attack on Hawaii. Oh my God. Is this legit? Is this what? Or is this just like I gotta show this. This is in the stream chat, by the way. Can you see that? Hirohito. This is like, it must be a mock thing. But it'd be funny if they gave a press conference just like this. We have completed a very successful attack on Hawaii. All planes are now outside of American airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Pearl Harbor. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great Japanese warriors. Hey, the warriors, they love that. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's pretty fucking funny. It's satire from World War II. Okay, thank you. That's fucking hilarious. Coming up next, details of Operation Shake That Booty. Starring Hegseth at the YMCA. It's mirroring Trump's tweet. Yeah, Trump's truth. Excuse me. How dare you, Avalava? Say it right. Don't say it. So good. And Jerriga, briefing or circle jerk? I know, it's so much like that. It's the equivalent of telling a gym bro he can't lift, then as he tries to show off, and you steal his wallet while he struggles to show off. That's 3D humor. Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. That's so good. Looks like Shot has gone from the conversation. I still want to know if he thinks that America is a religious culture, a warrior culture or not. It's failed to answer the question. Come on, Shot. Give us what you got, brother. All right. Back to the circle jerk.
The safety of our service members and civilians remains our highest priority. This mission demonstrates the unmatched reach, coordination, and capability of the United States military. In just a matter of weeks, this went from strategic planning to global execution. This operation underscores the unmatched capabilities and global reach of the United States military. As the president clearly said last night.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, okay, these are our toys, right? So like we haven't used this bad boy before and we've just done it in operation. We haven't done this one since 2001, but we pulled it off nicely. We traveled halfway across the world and did this in absolute radio silence and no one detected a goddamn thing. Everything was coordinated from the sea to the air to bases in foreign countries. We pulled it off. There's a lot of like, this is, you know, these are our toys and everyone else can go themselves kind of thing. Like, seriously. We all know who's stealing the wallet. But like, yeah, there's a lot of posturing going on, a lot of saber rattling, as 4S would like to say. Like, I know it's not saber rattling because like they've actually done something, but like, it's like, here, we're flexing. So everybody else in the world should just remember that. And like, hello, China, we just, you know, traveled halfway across the world to do this. We could do that again, you know, in the South China Sea if we needed to.
No other military in the world could have done this.
No
I join
one.
the president and the secretary in being incredibly proud of the air crews, naval forces, cyber operators, planners, and support teams and commanders who made this mission possible.
Wonderwaffen.
It is their skill, discipline, and teamwork that makes this operation possible. I am particularly proud of our discipline related to operational security, something that was of great concern to the President, the Secretary, General Kurilla, and me, and we will continue to focus.
Did he just like admit that he was basically he was afraid of leaks, like security breaches, and people would let the word out, so this wouldn't be like a airtight and secret operation? Like, that's not something I would be admitting. Like, you know, I wouldn't even go there because the implication is that like there is people within the levers of the Pentagon or within the security apparatus that like might let things slip. That's a strange thing to boast about. Like, all the other stuff, go for it, boast away. But that one's a bit weird, if you ask me. And maybe some people have been getting in on the Signal chat and been discussing, you know, how they might go about bombing Iran's nuclear facilities one day. Let's go have a beer and we'll catch up and we'll have a chat about it. It sounds more honest. It's in the original German.
On this. As we stand here this morning, many assets are still airborne, and we have hundreds deployed. I ask that we keep our warfighters on their way home and our deployed service member in our thoughts. Our joint force remains ready to defend the United States, our troops, and our interests in the region. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm proud of how planes go zoom and the bombs go boom. America. Yes, it's so good. Yes.
Take a few questions, Phil.
So, is regime change off the table, Mr. Secretary? And to the chairman, you said the battle damage assessment is still ongoing, but do you believe that some nuclear capability in Iran remains?
This mission has not been about regime change. The president authorized a precision operation to neutralize the threats to our national interests posed by the Iranian nuclear program and the collective self-defense of our troops and our ally Israel.
Thanks for your question. I think BDA is still pending, and it would be way too early for me to comment on what may or may not still be there. But thanks for the question.
Green. No, behind you.
Excuse me, Mr. Secretary, can you tell me, was there a particular moment when the president decided to pull the trigger on this operation where he said, now, rather than being, something in the holster, now we're going to pull the trigger on it?
I would just say, having the opportunity to witness his leadership, he was fully committed to the peace process. Wanted a negotiated outcome. Gave Iran every single opportunity, and unfortunately was met by stonewalling, which is why he gave them plenty of time to continue to come to the table and give up enrichment, give up the nuclear program. But there was I won't say the particular moment. There was certainly a moment in time where he realized that it had to be a certain action taken in order to minimize the threat to us and our troops. Yeah.
General, you say that General Kurilla increased force protection in Iraq, Syria, and Gulf in those areas. Were they given any advance warning the attacks were coming? And also, Mr. Secretary, when were congressional leaders notified? How long before the attacks took place?
Sir, to your first question, you know, the risk has clearly been rising over the last few weeks in the region. Based on that, and not a particular awareness of this operation, we've made smart decisions to minimize the risk to U.S. forces in the region.
So they were given no advance warning?
No, sir.
And congressional?
They were notified after the planes were safely out. Well, we complied with the notification requirements of the War Powers Act.
After the attacks, they were notified?
They were immediately thereafter. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary. Two brief questions. Do you believe you completely destroyed Iranian nuclear program? And how about Iranian ballistic missiles? Your ally as Israel always saying that is biggest threat. And second question is very important. What will be your next step if Iran or militias under Iranian influence in the region attack U.S. interests or allies in the region?
And you can chime in on this too, Mr. Chairman. The battle damage assessment is ongoing, but our initial assessment, as the chairman said, is that all of our precision munitions struck where we wanted them to strike and had the desired effect, which means especially in Fordo, which was the primary target here, we believe we achieved destruction of capabilities there. Ultimately, wherever it may be, whether it's in Iraq or Syria or bases in the Gulf, as the president said, it would be, as the chairman said, it would be a very bad idea for Iran or its proxies to attempt to attack American forces.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Regarding retaliations, Iran and North Korea are cooperating on nuclear and missile development. Do you think there is a possibility that Iran, North Korea, and other forces, such as China, will join forces to retaliate against the United States?
Well, unfortunately, because of the policies under the previous administration, we drove those countries together. And ultimately,
There you go. That's the previous administration. No, if anything happens, it's their fault. They drove all of those people into each other's arms. And so if anything happens, it's their fault. It's got nothing to do with us.
that creates a challenging environment. For this particular operation, the focus is on Iran and Iranian nuclear capabilities. That's our focus here, is to not just say that they can't have, but President Trump has said from over 20 years, frankly, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And ultimately, he decided this is the moment, given their stonewalling, when direct military action had to be taken to prevent that from happening. Yes.
Thank you very much. General Kane, I understand OPSEC, I respect OPSEC. Can you say at all what security procedures are being taken to protect U.S. troops in Iraq and elsewhere in the Middle East? And Secretary Hegseth, as a global war on terrorism veteran, what do you say to veterans who may be concerned the U.S. is getting into another open-ended war in the Middle East over weapons of mass destruction?
Thanks, sir, for the question. I won't comment on what force protection measures are being taken in the region. What I will say is we're being proactive and not reactive, and being very thoughtful about ensuring that we do all that we can to protect our forces out there.
I would just say, as the president has directed and made clear, this is most certainly not open-ended. It doesn't mean it limits our ability to respond. We will respond if necessary. The most powerful military in the world is postured and prepared to defend our people. But what the president gave us, as I said, was a focused, powerful, and clear mission on the destruction of Iranian nuclear capabilities. Those were the targets. That's what was struck. That's what was overwhelming. That's what was overwhelming. That's what the Iranian regime needs to understand. As the president put out last night, he wants peace. There needs to be a negotiated settlement here. We ultimately demonstrated that Iran cannot have.
What's the quote from Orwell? What is it? Peace through war? Is that the one? Hey, he wants peace. And he's going to blow up everybody until there's nobody left. And then we will have absolute peace. Eh? When there's no one left, what else will there be but peace? It's something to think about. Something to think about. Jerry got the the B-2 bomber crew texting with Signal. I know, right? They just want this whole thing to go into the next Call of Duty. Yeah, actually, could you imagine that? That would be a sweet little mission to play in some Call of Duty scenario. Um, Take out Iranian nuclear facilities. Fly 18-hour trip around the world. Oh, man.
A nuclear capability. That is a very clear mission set on this operation. Yes, hold on. Yes, right there.
The Strait of Hormuz will be closed. We may see U.S. aircraft carriers sunk and fuel prices go up. Whoa, Avalava, that's a big call, eh? Because they've said multiple times here that Iran would be stupid. It would be stupid to retaliate and do anything against American forces. That's a big call, Avalava. I'm going to start calling you the prophet if that one comes true.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Question for the Secretary and the Chairman. How was this strike coordinated with the Israelis on a strategic level, militarily, and on a tactical level? Was there any direct Israeli military participation in this operation?
Well, I would say certainly Israel had an incredible military success, especially at the beginning and ongoing, in degrading Iranian capabilities, in degrading Iranian launchers, MRBMs. It's been incredible to watch what our ally Israel has been able to do. And there certainly have been conversations. I mean, General Kurilla at CENTCOM has worked closely in the defense of Israel for many years. And part of this operation was the defense of Israel and the ongoing defense of Israel. But as it pertains to this strike, this was U.S. operated and U.S. led.
We took advantage of some of the preparatory work that's been done over the past week and a half in terms of axis of approach. I won't get into the particulars, but as the Secretary said, it was a U.S. strike. We made sure we were not in the same piece of airspace and sky. Aside from that, that was the extent of it.
We'll take a couple more. Yeah, right there.
Question to the Secretary first. Are you concerned whatsoever now about the reaction from U.S. allies given the strike, particularly those in the Gulf? And to the Chairman, if I may, I understand you don't want to speak to specific assets and force protection measures, but do you anticipate at least having to bring in any further assets from other theaters to aid in force protection over the coming days?
We certainly understand the challenges of allies in the region, and we have been respectful and working in collaboration with them as it pertains to basing and sensitivities there. Ultimately, they've got a lot of assets and people in those locations also where American troops are co-located. So that's a consideration of ours. We've been in close consultation with them, and we appreciate the support that we have got.
Thanks for the question on sort of the global picture. And as you know, that's one of my jobs, is to look globally at the entire range of challenges. We are always carefully considering our force posture around the world and then offering options to the Secretary and to the President. I won't comment on any future things, but the American people should know that we carefully consider those moves around the world and try to modulate as needed our force structure in the region.
Absolutely.
Dilemmas says it's literally the plot of the Top Gun Maverick. Nimitz aircraft carrier was sent to retire next year. Now it's in the firing line. But there's never been a false flag against American ships. Never, ever. But like, you know, like you have to ask the question, like, because that's all I've been thinking is really like, you know, okay, they can do this from the other side of the world. Why have they brought these this fleet into the zone, into the area where they can be you know, attacked? Like I guess, you know, their argument is that they're ready to strike and like ready to retaliate if they respond. But like, you know, if this is just about taking out the nuclear facilities, done. Like, why have they brought them in? Like you said, like, you know, they look like they're fucking targets now. Like Iran's got some fucking targets. That's what it really seems to be about, if you ask me. If you ask me, if you want my conspiratorial tinfoil hat assessment on this one, it's definitely that. And they've just brought them up to be shot at, really. Hey? They better not do anything, but, you know, here's some target practice just in case you want to. Just saying. No need to grandstand me. I'm just another parrot of wiser people. Okay. Can you discuss what triggered the Vietnam War? Oh, that's interesting. Well, like, are you saying like they can't discuss it, or that you want me to discuss it? If you ask me, what triggered the Vietnam War. Some good old imperialism, hey? Good old imperialism, and like a good old hate of communism. There's big fear that like this alternative to a free market style of living and societal structure could be undertaken, and was spreading pretty fast throughout the developing world, the third world, whatever you want to call it. And they had to put barriers up around the world to stop it from spreading. So, and they did that pretty well, ye old Americans.
Yeah, right here.
Thank you. What communications are being sent to the Iranians right now, and is there any possibility of diplomacy now or in the coming days?
I can only confirm that there are both public and private messages being directly delivered to the Iranians in multiple channels, giving them every opportunity to come to the table. They understand precisely what the American position is, precisely what steps they can take to allow for peace, and we hope they do so. Yes.
The president may not want an open-ended conflict. The Iranians may disagree. Are you prepared for a protracted war?
Well, anything can happen in conflict, we acknowledge that, but the scope of this was intentionally limited. That's the message that we're sending. With the capabilities of the American military, nearly unlimited.
There's the C word again, eh? It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a hypothesis. That's a pretty good call. You know, there's the C word again, eh? It's about capabilities. Where's Shot when you need him, eh? Come on, come back, Shot. You were very vocal before. There's the capability word. Seems to be the rhetoric of the belligerent. May you discuss it? There was an incident about a ship that was a false flag. Interesting. I'm not across that level of detail, Avalava. You might have to divulge there. But yes, it was colonial and imperial, was to contain communism. Yeah, that's like the overarching goal for me. But like, yeah, if like, you know, some ships went down or something like that with American citizens on it or something like that, if that's what you're talking about, or a military target was taken out as a way to get people across it and into it. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. It's not going to be the last, apparently. Got to mobilize your population to go fight some working people on the other side of the world somehow. Eh? They're not going to just want to kill themselves. They have to be convinced that they want to kill themselves. Gulf of Tonkin and Captain George Stephen Morrison. Are you referring to what Avalava is discussing in the Discord? Jim Morrison, DAD, Dad. There you go. Here it is. This is the reference.
In that sense, has a choice. But we've made it very clear to them, this is nuclear sites, this is nuclear capabilities, this is the line that the president set, and we set that back. Now is the time to come forward for peace. But I think one of the takeaways from this as well is the unprecedented level of ongoing cooperation. I can't speak highly enough of the chairman and his staff and General Kurilla in CENTCOM, what they've done to look around the corner, to pre-position, to understand how an operation like this comes together. The scope and scale of what occurred last night would take the breath away of almost any American if you had an opportunity to watch it in real time. And I think Tehran is certainly calculating the reality that planes flew from the middle of America in Missouri overnight, completely undetected over 3 of their most highly sensitive sites, and we were able to destroy nuclear capabilities. And our boys in those bombers are on their way home right now. We believe that'll have a clear psychological impact on how they view the future, and we certainly hope they take the path of negotiated peace. But I could not be more proud of how this building operated, of the precision, the sensitivity, and the professionalism of the troops involved in this effort. I will take one more. We'll take one more question. Yes, right there.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Concerning the justification for these strikes, in March, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released their threat assessment, concluding, quote, Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Khomeini has not authorized the nuclear programs he suspended in 2003. Unquote. So what new intelligence does the U.S. have since then that the Iranians have changed their position on nuclear weapons? And does this new intelligence come from U.S. sources and methods, or are we getting this information from other countries?
Well, I would just simply say that the president's made it very clear. He's looked at all of this, all of the intelligence, all of the information, and come to the conclusion that the Iranian nuclear program is a threat, and was willing to take this precision operation to neutralize that threat in order to advance.
I think that's a really telling response, isn't it? It's just like, yeah. we don't really have anything, but we think it's a threat. So this is our wedge issue. This is our justification as to why we can go in to somebody else's country, despite, being a UN signatory and living in a global community, and we could just fly across the world undetected and bomb other people's infrastructure as a warning that they should come and seek peace. Like, it's basically, that's it. It's just like, fuck the evidence. We don't need that shit. We've looked at whatever the fuck we felt like, and we think it's a threat. And this is the truth. Not just from Truth Social, but this is the president's truth. There it is.
American national interests, reduce the Iranian nuclear program, and obviously collective self-defense of ourselves and our allies. So he looked at all of it, understood the nature of the threat, and took bold action I think the American people would expect in a commander-in-chief. That's all we've got. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any of the WC-135?
Whoa. There it is. You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Where's the other thing I wanted to... This is it. I wanted to watch this before, but I didn't get a chance. Let's see what old Bernie Sanders makes of this. If anyone's interested. Eh? The man himself. So this is just basically, watch the moment Bernie Sanders finds out Trump launched strikes on Iran during his rally. Fight the Oligarchy tour. Here it is. Let's have a look at how he responds to this.
This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc.
Listen to all those snowflakes booing, hey? America is a warrior culture.
I agree. And I want to tell you something. Not only is this news that I've just heard, the second alarming that all of you have just heard, but it is so grossly unconstitutional. All of you know that
It's a big call, man. It's a big call. I want to check this. I'm going to check this. It's a big call. We are looking at Trump's decision to strike Iran, and there is an allegation that Trump's decision, despite the fact that he is commander-in-chief, is unconstitutional, and he should have sought congressional approval before undertaking this attack. Can you please verify whether this allegation has any validity and whether or not Trump is in the wrong here? Oh man, why am I getting dumped on? That's not what I asked for, bro. Come on. I have to ask this thing again. Alright, let's ask this again. Oh, this is really screwy today. Let's do a new chat. We are currently investigating Trump's decision as commander-in-chief to strike Iran. And there is an allegation that Trump has made this decision unconstitutionally. Can you please verify whether or not Trump has the ability to make a call of this nature, or has he done something wrong? All right. Let's have it. Yes, there is a real constitutional and legal controversy in US politics, and the allegation has some legal grounding, but there are some counter arguments. Here's a breakdown of the situation. Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power to declare war. Article 2, Section 2 names the President Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So, the US Constitution divides war powers between Congress, who decides war, and the President, who commands military operations. Short answer, it depends. Of course, there is nuance, who would have thought? Congressional authorization is generally required for acts of war, especially major sustained military actions, but presidents often take limited military actions without prior approval, claiming it's within their commander-in-chief powers, especially in emergencies to protect US interests. The U.S. War Powers Resolution 1973. This law was passed after Vietnam to limit the president's ability to engage in military conflict without Congress. It says the president can only send forces into hostilities if Congress has declared war, Congress has authorized it, or there's a national emergency due to an attack on the U.S., its territories, or armed forces. The president must notify Congress within 48 hours of such action. The military action must end within 60 days unless Congress approves the extension. Trump's controversial decision was most likely a reference to the January 2020 drone strikes that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in Iraq. Critics said that this risked full-scale war with Iran. No, it's not in relation to that. Was it unconstitutional? Legally ambiguous. There's no Supreme Court ruling settling this balance. Critics argue Trump violated both the Constitution and War Powers Resolution by not consulting Congress. Defenders argue that the strike was within his executive power to protect U.S. lives and interests, especially if there's intelligence of an imminent threat. And that's like the big question here. Was there an imminent threat? And like, you know, they could build a nuclear bomb. Who are they going to bomb? American bases that are in the Middle East? Like, are we talking about like an attack on American soil? The allegation has validity. There's some strong constitutional argument that Trump should have gotten congressional authorization, especially for an act that could escalate into war, but it's not black and white. Presidents have historically used military force without congressional approval under similar justifications, and the courts have largely avoided direct rulings on this grey area. Interesting. Very interesting. Right? I think I misunderstood this whole thing. It's just Trump speaking his truth. How dare I deny him of his act of self-expression? That's right. We've got to give him a chance, right? Like, everybody is allowed to express themselves in a free society. And that's what we're all about here. We're all about promoting a free society. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Oi! That's what we're all about here. All right, let us go back to Bernie's wild allegations that Trump has conducted something that is unconstitutional.
Entity, all of you know, but it is so grossly unconstitutional. All of you know that the only entity that can take this country to war is the U.S. Congress. The president does not have the right. You know, I was talking a moment ago about the fact that we are living in one of the most difficult moments.
Trump getting more affirmative care than he offers anyone else. Yes.
In the modern history of this country, and Trump just made it that much more difficult. That's just another burden we're going to have to carry, and that's just another message we're going to have to get out all over this country. The American people do not want more war, more death. You know? It might be a good idea if we concentrated on the problems that exist in Oklahoma and Vermont, rather than getting involved in another war that the American people do not want. Let me just say this, that in the midst of all of what is going on, what is enormously important is that we do not give up on a vision of where this country must go. What the establishment wants you to believe is that you have no power, that you can't accomplish anything. They have it all, nothing you can do. And in this moment in American history, what we have got to do in Vermont, in Oklahoma, in Texas, all over this country, is stand up and fight back and tell them this is our country. And I don't care if you are a progressive, a moderate, or a conservative. This country belongs to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires. And when we look out into the future, the kind of America we want, let's understand a few things. Number one, instead of giving tax breaks to billionaires, we should demand they start paying their fair share of taxes.
I don't think he's going to say anything else about Iran there. But, like, you know, we are in interesting territory here. Because, like, you know, for all intents and purposes, Trump and the red MAGA base, the neo-reactionary sections, so the dark enlightenment forces that exist behind the Trump administration, Trump 2.0, have made it abundantly clear, which is what he's saying now, which is very interesting, but they've made it abundantly clear that they are not interested in any more wars. They're not interested in America spending resources, including personnel, on fighting other people's problems. Trump is all about making America great again. America first. This is a form of, as Steve Bannon calls it, economic nationalist populism. And like, it is really antithetical to this idea and this kind of position that Trump has painted, which is like, no, I am the president of peace. And, you know, I end wars. I don't start them. So, like, it is very, I think, contradictory at this point in time to see a decision like this when that, like, really young-looking journalist just then was questioning Hegseth and was kind of like, so, like, do you have any evidence, especially the fact that, like, you know, all of the actual intelligence that has been, like, provided to the American people and the administration so far has said basically there is absolutely no evidence of this. There's absolutely no evidence that they're building a nuclear bomb of any sort. Do you have anything new that you could tell us that would justify this type of action? And Hegseth was just like, look, the president made a call. He's got lots of information, and this is how he thinks the American people should respond. So, like, basically, they have absolutely nothing. They have nothing new. Like I said before, you have their director, their head of intelligence, Trump's personal appointee to that position, saying that, like, she, like, you know, just days ago, saying no, she has absolutely, there's nothing that they have that would point towards the fact that Iran has, let's say the word, weapons of mass destruction, like, you know, most other industrial nations actually do have. But, like, yeah, there's no evidence to say they have weapons of mass destruction. And, like, Trump has used this as a Trojan horse or a wedge or whatever you want to call it to argue and justify why he should preemptively strike Iran. If the Israelis want to get in there and have a tussle over a number of state borders in their region of the world, with their not so friends, the Iranians, then, like, let them fight it out, let them duke it out. But, like, America moving things into position in order to attack Iran is an act of war. Like, I don't know how else to describe that. Like, this, like, you tell me in the chat if, like, that is just hyperbolic language that I'm using, but that is an act of war, striking out like that and moving all these things into position to do this. None of this with Tulsi is surprising. She never had any morals to begin with. Why expect her to grow a spine and tell the truth now? So you're saying that, like, she's probably lying. That's what you're saying then. The new Colin Powell. Right, so, like, your accusation is she's just full of shit. So, like, there probably is evidence then. So, like, if there is evidence, then that, like, helps a little bit. But, like, you know, she was also in the camp of, let's not fight any more wars. Let's not, you know, let's not attack anyone unnecessarily. And Trump has definitely gone against that sentiment. He's purposefully reneged on his election campaign promises. Now, I'm not saying that this is not what politicians do. Politicians do this all the time. She called herself a Bernie leftist to begin with. Yes, she was a Democrat, all that sort of stuff. She's hard to trust. I get that. But, like, you know, one of them is lying. Like, they can't both be telling the truth, even if one of them has a social media platform called Truth and he sends out literal truths. Like, they can't both be telling the truth on this one, that there's no evidence. And then Trump, all these people saying that, like, well, actually, you know what? They didn't even say that, did they? That's the thing. They didn't even admit that there was evidence. They were like, oh, yeah, we've definitely got evidence. They didn't say it. They just skirted around it and said, like, we've got a lot of information and we made a call. The best call we could make in the circumstances. And so, like, I think that is the real message to take away. Hegseth is a master of the art of evasion. If you've ever seen him in a Senate committee hearing or a congressional hearing of some sort, and, like, they just ask him direct question after direct question, he's just like, I don't know. We do what we do. We do what we do because we have to. We do what we do because we have to, like, kind of thing. Like, again and again and again. And, like, that's exactly what happened there. This young kid, young buck in the audience was just like, what do you have so we can make sense of this? And he's just like, we've got decision-making capability, basically. So basically, and, like, you know, let's be honest, okay? Trump is Mr. Art of the Deal. This is what Trump does. He's not a traditional politician. He is Mr. Art of the Deal. Iran were told they had 60 days to come to the table and to cut a bargain with the US, facilitating. They didn't. Trump was shafted. He's been offended by the fact that they wouldn't make a deal. So he's just like, we need to do something. He's a New Yorker. So he's decided to go out and break some legs and to show them that they mean business. So they flew halfway across the world in a very televised and well-promoted event, it would seem, with very specific levels of details to not only, break legs and bring people to a table to negotiate, but in a way to show off and flex their military might and remind the world who's still top dog, bitches. Because, like, all of the stuff, the rhetoric, the headlines, the quotes that you see coming out of this is basically like, we're showing Russia, we're showing China what we're capable of. And the rhetoric non-stop from Hegseth, and like so was from the chief, was where no other military could do this. No one else has the big C word. No one else has this capability. And we had shot in here before defending American culture and saying it's not militaristic, it's not a warrior culture, which he blames Islam for. It's not that. It's not that. It's just that we have capability. So the C word is the big thing here. This is a bird that kills many stones, this incident. It allows Trump to have a stronger bargaining position it allows him to posture to the entire global community that this is what we can do, and it also, like, it shows off some military capability that people have forgotten about the US, thanks to the efforts of globalization and the long march of neoliberalism. He's just like, hey, this is how America can be properly aggressive. And they can do it from the middle of America. They don't need to invade Iraq anymore. You know, they don't need to set up coups in Central and South American countries in their regional backyard. They can fly bombers from Central North America and strike something with supposedly absolutely no indication on enemy radars about their capabilities, the C word. And so, like, here we are. He's shown off, and like that whole press conference was, as Jericho, I think, rightly called it. Pretty sure it was you, Jericho, that this was a big circle jerk event. And they've been able to show off to the entire global community that they mean business. Because, like, you can't just have Israel or Is-Not-Rail out there having all the fun, in the Middle East. America's got to show that they're in on it too. Hi all, happy to be here and hear your take on this stuff. I am largely a clueless onlooker. And can I say, up until very recently, I was pretty fucking clueless about all this sort of stuff too, but I've been sucked into the vortex of the reality TV show, which is the USA. And on this episode of the USA, the emperor of world capitalism has decided to flex his muscles and show off his toys by flying his little planes all the way around the world to bomb somebody on the pretext that they have weapons of mass destruction. Let's use the word weapons of mass destruction to justify basically an act of war. And so that we have obvious opponents of Trump. So this is hence why we watched Bernie just a second ago, telling us why Trump was unconstitutional in his excising of this power, because they should have consulted Congress before this, and he hadn't done so. Hegseth was questioned on that one and said he did so within the adequate time frame, and Congress was told. But this was obviously the importance, to the utmost importance of the mission in order for it to be airtight. And so they didn't say anything until the planes were obviously in the right position. He said in the air. Like, what does that mean? It was an 18-hour flight. When the fuck did they actually give notification of this? Obviously after it was too late to call it off. Is the real answer to that question. So it's nice to see you, Kylie Wyote, and that's exactly where we're at. It would seem that they got some toys, the Americans, and they showed the world that they can use it, and like this potentially brings Iran to the table, which is what Trump wanted in the beginning. And if he can broker something, then like everyone's going to think that he's number one, because that's what Trump wants at the end of the day. He hates being number two. If anyone's seen that South Park episode with Bono, and like he hates being called number two because he's a piece of shit, like literally a piece of shit, who's taken human form. Like Trump has that kind of syndrome as well. He wants to be number one, and if Iran weren't going to take him seriously, then he's made a decision as commander-in-chief, basically, despite any evidence, to strike. And that's why this will be known as Trump's strike on Iran, I think. I think that's what we should call it. Really, we're just watching reruns from 2003 that just changed a letter and hoped we would know. Thank you. Yes, in this episode of America, we are just watching, basically, they've done this already. Like, they need new script writers, and the script writers are so lazy because they're just like, this time it's nuclear bombs because they've got nuclear facilities. It's like they are fucking you know, it's like just trade out the word weapons of mass destruction there. It's fucking crazy. Jericho, I thought they flew up from Diego Garcia using Indian airspace to get to Iran, but they really don't like mentioning that base. Interesting. I don't know enough about the history behind it, so it's something to note, ladies and gentlemen. Something to note. Oh man, TikTok's trying to kick me off again. I don't know why it's doing this. Come on, don't be like that. Unable to verify. Stop trying to kick me off, you bastard. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all. It's not our usual jam, this stuff, but this is geopolitically very important period, I think, because like people are claiming that this is the type of stuff that leads you to a world war. And so, like, you know, I think it's important to kind of take the time to understand some of the politics of it. Like the military stuff, like we've already discussed, is circle jerk nonsense. It's posturing, and like, yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, some of it. Like, you know, just the way they talk about it and the language they use. But like politically, this is important. And like, I think we should just take the time to recognize it, especially if, you know, those types of statements end up being true. That like this was one of those moments that like took us down the road of some type of World War style scenario. So like, you know, you should take it with a level of seriousness, but like, you know, that is also in an age, an information age fueled by the internet, AI now, and social media. What a dangerous mix that is. The media always beat shit up to the max. And so like they want people to click on stuff because it has World War III in the title, because they play on everybody's fears. But like if this ends up being a monumental point, it'd be good. It's nice to be across this stuff. So let us hope that it is just media beat up, because nothing gets eyes on content, not papers anymore, but content, like a bit of fear mongering, and people will be scared by all of this sort of stuff. So, yes, look, keep your eyes peeled for World War III. Is the sentiment that they want us to take away from all of this. So, lively discussion at the start, dropped off a little bit at the end there, but fuck me dead, was it going off? 4IS in the house, shot Indoctrinathan there, squeeb for the initial rounds of this massive discussion that we had. W coming in with some gold, dilemmas, good to have you as always. Jerriga coming in. Kylie Wyati, thanks for your contributions. Who have we had in the stream chat? We have had Avalava going hard, and so is 4AS. Indoctrinathan has been censored the most today, it would seem. So you win the anti-freedom of expression medal for today's Monday stream. And so like if you've been watching this and you are not in the Discord and you want to come join and throw some propaganda around and read some propaganda, it's a give and take thing, please come over. Here's the invite. Don't be shy. And yes, Indoctrination, you win a prize. And this is important too. This is important for me to be able to keep the movement going, I'm not gonna lie. Where are we? Please go over to Patreon and join up for free, become a free member, and so I can get notifications to you. And if you can financially support, that would be huge, because like I can continue making content. So whatever you can do to help would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, thank you everybody for your contributions today. And we will be on Twitch tomorrow. We're going back to the Twitch files. On Twitch, this is where the conversation gets a little bit more real, because we can talk about stuff over there. It's a little bit more hardcore. We don't get censored as much. we don't get censored, and we don't get hit up with copyright issues either, which YouTube seems to be a little bit narky about, let me just say. So tomorrow, same time, different place, Twitch, and we're going to continue reading Project 2025. So if you've ever wondered what all the hype was about with Project 2025, we're actually going through the document like fucking page by page, actually understanding this thing and like what it means for not only like, you know, American and global politics, but what it means for the neo-reactionary movement. So the Dark Enlightenment, the forces that I think are really behind the levers of power in the imperial core of capitalism at the moment. It's not the paleocons, it's the neocons, it's not the neoliberals. All those fuckers are gone. They think they're in power, but they're not. It is those of the Dark Enlightenment, because like these forces are not exactly idealistic. These forces seem to be an adaptation of capital to try and survive. And like, you know, its first victim will be democracy, liberal democracy, and we'll all be living authoritarian style very, very soon if the Dark Enlightenment comes to pass. So come over to the Twitch files tomorrow if you're interested in learning about that type of stuff. It can be very, very interesting, and you get some crazy, crazy insights. So thank you everyone for your contributions today. You know who you are, and until next time, please remember, I am, you are, we are MysterE. See you tomorrow.